That's great. So good evening and welcome to one and all. Here, yet we are again on a Sunday afternoon to talk about sustainability. Yeah, we know that what is sustainability, and it has been the walks of life in many of us rather, and we all know that it's an ability to maintain and support a process over time. And often sustainability is broken into three core concepts, that is economic, environmental, and social. Many businesses and governments have committed to these sustainable goals, such as reducing the environmental footprints, conserving resources, etc., etc., etc. But when it comes to walks of life, what is our contribution to this great word, sustainability? As we all know, these days, it is the ability of the human communities around the world to maintain their independence and have access to all the resources required to meet the needs, and also it's a capacity to maintain and improve the state and availability of those desirable materials and the conditions for over a long term.
Dear Alice, this place is yours now. It's a handful, but nothing worth doing is easy. The land is more than just dirt. If you look after it, it will feed you forever. You're a smart one. I know you'll be okay come rain or shine. And remember, a business is only as good as its people, so treat them well. Our job is to plant seeds so our grandkids get to enjoy the fruit. So, eat well, Alice, and keep planting those seeds. Because how we eat today.
So on that note, we have met today on this platform to welcome Mr. Krishna Raj with us. So it's my duty to introduce my guest for the day, Mr. Krishna Raj. Yes, Mr. Krishna Raj is a serial entrepreneur who has a passion for a social impact. When I say passion, it's a realistic passion that he has in him. And he has a background in corporate, which we cannot afford to miss in the mention, but transitioned into a startup world for the sake of the community, where he founded a supply chain startup. Then he went on to board to tech startup in India that focuses on bringing affordable education to underprivileged communities. More recently, our guest, Mr. Raj, has been focusing on sustainability and helping women, not missing on women empowerment too, creating a livelihood by creating plates from fallen leaves as the replacement for a single-use plastic. How innovative it is. So thereby, definitely, Krishna Raj builds his ventures with a mixing of fund resources, including self-funding, angel investors, and impact investors. And the impact investors are those who are interested in not just financial returns, but also in the social and environmental impact. So with that tagline of tech for good, sustainability, woman empowerment, replacing single use of plastic for people, planet, and purpose, today we are here to welcome our Mr. Krishna Raj. And what does he say? What startup needs is an ecosystem, not just funding. This ecosystem would include an access to finance, customers and early adopters, and the government that is open to working with startups. The overall message is that small steps even can make a big impact. So without wasting much time, let's put our hands together to welcome one of those unsung heroes of time, a creative accelerator focused on the mentoring startups working on humanitarian causes for a variety of places, including Lebanon and Africa. Please join me in welcoming our guest for the day, Mr. Krishna Raj. Please, Mr. Krishna Raj, please introduce yourself and you can go ahead. And we are all excited to know what is the ignite behind this concept of sustainability into innovation, into entrepreneurship, into investors, and overall, we all know it's all for the sake of the community. And we are waiting to hear from you. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Srividhya. That's a very generous introduction about myself. I hope that I can fit into at least some of that. Thank you very much. Good evening. My journey started actually as a shop floor engineer in a very small, held fairly senior responsibilities with one of the global corporates. And I was very lucky to work in engineering side, which had a very strong consulting aspect, and that actually allowed me to understand the use cases. And I want to kind of demystify the words which are used quite interchangeably, which is science, technology, applications, and use cases. Science are the basic principles which helps technology when you're able to apply it to real life use cases. That's where the application comes into picture. So my background as an engineer and consulting to an extent, it did help me to find new use cases. So more use cases we use for technology, more widespread is the impact, more good it can do for the communities. And my motivation to actually get into this aspect for tech for good is to understand the technology, not create the technology, but understood for people, planet, and the communities around, without turning a blind side for the economics, because the whole aspect of sustainability, if we simply define it, is our ability to use today's resources without compromising the ability of the future generation to use the resources. That's the simplest definition which I would use. And as we had seen more and more technologies emerging, and I found that where these technologies can be used for human good. That's been my motivation. I've been in this for a few years now. My areas were focus of were education, health, and environment. We did something on the education side, which you are possibly aware. We built a gamified education for children from the underprivileged backgrounds. We have students. And the other the project what we are very deeply developing now is around sustainability, because single-use plastic is something which is choking the world. Can create an impact, but today close to 450 million tons of plastic is getting produced every day, every year. Half of it is single-use plastic. What's a single-use plastic? You use it once and throw it.
Yeah.
And just 10% of that gets recycled. 90% goes into something called as mismanaged waste or the landfill. And the plastic does not disintegrate. And that's something which is actually choking the planet. And we wanted to see what we can do from our side. Do not want to use this proud word of helping, but what we can do to undo some of the damages by creating something which is equivalent, but which is not heavy on the planet. That's been the motivation behind starting something called as back to nature. So we start with the nature and you go back to the nature. That's where the circularity comes into the picture. That's possibly a long introduction. Over to you, Dr. Srividhya.
So it's not 100%, it's 1000% that we agree with you that these plastics are really alarming, like the usage of plastics and people getting addicted to it. And wherever you go, like you're looking for a plastic bottle and or a cup or something, and we just throw it in front of us. We do it. I do it. I've done it. I'm sorry, very, very sorry to say that, definitely. And what struggles have you faced in this process? Because reframing the society, like reforming the society, refurbishing them with alternatives is something going to be very, very challenging for you. So what are I would like to know your struggles rather than talking about that you have achieved so far, really, because that's very important.
Yeah, so a lot of things will boil down to our behavior as consumers. Many times, convenience is not sustainable. Let me give you an example. What is convenience not sustainable? Let's say if we keep getting 5 minutes delivery, 2 minutes delivery, it's extremely convenient for us. Which happens. Somebody uses a bike or a car to do this delivery, and they do it again and again, putting carbon on in the process. There's a processing which happens. There is billing which happens. There are papers which gets generated because of the invoicing. So it's extremely convenient to us as consumers, and from an overall scheme of things, it's not very convenient. When we talk about single-use plastic, it's extremely convenient for us. And there is also incentive for us as consumer when we use single-use plastic. And I'm saying that there's incentive. What's the incentive? Economic incentive. So whatever is least in terms of cost to us as a consumer, we will end up actually adopting it. But there is something called as a societal cost of.
Yeah.
It's for us to procure or buy or effort for. It does not add any large impact on the businesses. But if you look at the process of putting it back to the nature, that's where the money goes in. That's where the government struggle. So typically you have carbon emission which happens in 4 areas. It happens in production, it happens in transportation, it happens in packaging. Some places it happens in consumption, and it happens in the destruction. So if you look at this life cycle into 4 or 5 stages, not get destroyed, which means that the cost to a consumer is very less, but the cost to the government is very high because it puts a lot of top $1 billion to make it disappear, and it does not get disappeared. And that's where more sustainable alternatives which comes into picture. And that's where fallen leaf is one of the most credible alternatives what is we have found.
I know. Where are we heading to, Mr. Ksharaj? Really, I don't know what to say. And definitely, I would like to know who all helped in this process, who are really, contributing for this, I would say, golden cause, which is going to reform our society, rather. And do you have opportunities for others to join you and collaborate with you? If at all anybody would like to collaborate, what they can do with you in this social cause, in this, phenomenal cause?
So we got into this in 2022 with the good friend partner Prasad, who was for employment, and that was in 2022 where we are trying to help women find their products, some markets. Then 2023 COP happened, and that was kind of an eye opener. When we saw the enormous challenges what world is facing and the opportunities it presents. And it was known, but the COP was kind of big eye opener for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me also, COP has been a blessing in disguise.
We were trying to see. Yes, absolutely. So we were trying to see how do we make it way more professional, way more widespread, and this word which I wanted to use is impact at scale.
Yeah.
So whatever we are doing it in a small manner, how do we make it much more widespread? And since we had opportunities to connect with the experts across Europe and Americas and in the Middle East, and UAE is actually taking this baton of sustainability, we did interact with a lot of people and took their opinions. We brought in samples. We shared hundreds of them among people, and they all liked it. It's not that the consumers do not want to change. It's just that they were not presented with a credible alternative option. And it was presented with the credible alternative options. And also with the government boost, it presents a strong business case. So that's where the whole pillar of planet, people, and purpose comes into picture in that order. So what did help is, I would say, the policy tailwind. the policy tailwind, there is a general awareness among people constantly urges businesses to reduce the usage of plastic and get phased out. And also the new generation, which is Gen Z, which is much more cost oriented, very, very cost oriented in terms of what kind of products they want to consume, how they can connect with businesses which are more ethical, more humane, more giving back to the society. So these are the things which are, like, I would say, the macro aspects. In micro aspects, there are a lot of people who I would say the unsung heroes or building blocks in the business. It could be from near and dear, it could be friends, families, or somebody, that special person who would have said that, okay, don't go down, we trust you, let's keep it going. So there are a lot of people who did help us to come to the level where we are. And what we are actually looking is, one is people who are like-minded, typically impact investors. What is impact investment? It's your ability to invest money in businesses which would create either human impact or environmental impact or both. And it's not a donation because it's a business, so which will give returns. So it's more of money, I would say. And people who could propagate this in the communities and make it as widespread. So because every item which gets sold helps environment, it also helps women. And I would call it as the impact flywheel. So you have more usage which happens, and it actually impacts environment in a positive manner. It also impacts the economic activities.
That's true. Overall, like I would really congratulate you when it comes to SDG goals, the 17 SDG goals. I think 5 is the one that you're highlighting here, but I think you've covered it right through from about 7, that is talking about sustainable, affordable, and clean energy, and about decent work, that's for SDG 8, right? And then about talking about resources, that is SDG 9, and funding projects, that's about SDG 9, and also about sustainable cities and communities, that is about SDG 12, 11, and about then recycling plastic and glass and aluminium, that's talking about SDG 12. Almost everything is covered. And when it comes, last but not the least, talking about SDG 16, that is peace, justice, and startup institutions and partnerships and goals, ending up with SDG 17. So many of them that you have covered overall, and we should really congratulate you for it. And last but not the least, I would like to know more about when they impact the investment factor of it, because people would, if at all anybody would like to collaborate, and it should be for the good, right? So how you are going to facilitate them, help them out in the whole process, if at all anybody would like to contribute, collaborate with you for investment, how would you like to do it? You can be open and you can discuss it very in detail. Exactly.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Srividhya. Yes, we did, when we actually built this entire ecosystem, you realize that we do align with many of the SDGs, starting with SDG 1, which is no poverty. Then you have SDG 12, which is more about responsible consumptions. The
Yes.
consumption is there. You cannot eliminate consumption, but make it more responsible. Then you go all the way to SDG 17, which is partnerships for goals, which is without partnership, collaboration, nothing happens. And in between, you have life on land, life on water.
Water.
Then you have 9, which is innovations and industry and innovation. So we kind of actually cover 9 out of 17 SDG goals. We did not actually plan to do like that, but we realized we are covering, actually speaking, to 9 SDG goals. And even in our own charter, in terms of how we would like to grow, we are not just keeping financial metrics as our targets, but we are actually keeping metrics as like what is going to be our impact in terms of women empowerment. How many jobs are we going to create in year 1, year 2, year 3? How many cubic feet of landfill we are going to offset by the decomposition of this material, how many liters of oil which we are going to offset because of green production methodology and logistics, how much of carbon offset we are going to offset in year 1, year 2, year 3. So our own goal for the company is much more comprehensive than just financial metrics. Financial metrics is there because it's economic sustainability of a business also is very crucial. Economic sustainability of the business is crucial, but at the same time, you also will have to give importance to the social matrices and the environmental matrices. Coming back to the question of who would like to partner with us, we would preferably would like to partner with impact investors for a simple reason is that there is a common shared goal. There's a common vision. There's a common vision between us that they would like to possibly see the money going into purposes which would help the environment and the society in large. The options which are open are creating safe nodes. Right now, we are raising our pre-seed capital. So far, we have done completely from self-funding and bootstrapping. We have people are shared between UK, Canada, US, India, and Middle East now. And
you have stolen my question. Rather, I wouldn't mention it here because I was about to ask which are the countries that you've collaborated with. That was my next question. Anyway, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. So the people who have actually came on board it's a very interesting mixture of backgrounds, nationalities, and races. Because we wanted to keep the entire team completely diverse, from a nationality background, from a background of race, ethnicity, even in terms of knowledge, because we truly wanted to represent what diverse talents come together can create, and that's not an answer to SDG 17, but that's where we wanted to start within ourselves. If you look at our own website, just a case in point, it's not a .com website, it's a .eco website. And .eco website is supposed to use less power. So to give you a very small information, how consumption affects every 1 GB of data which is stored can create 1 kg of carbon emission.
Oh.
Yes, it actually percolates to many layers. So right now, coming back to the question again, we are looking for impact investors who would not only come on board as an investor, but also to advise, to lead us, to guide us, to open doors, to facilitate, to partner. It's a partnership. It's not a pure financing arrangement what we are looking at. It's a long-term partnership. But how do we walk together hand in hand for a shared goal, a common goal to make the world better? And right now, the instruments which we are talking is either equity or safe rounds. And details we could definitely discuss once we have somebody who's interested.
Yes, that's great. And definitely this half-an-hour session of sustainability talks is not going to be suffice for both of us, I think. And well, I'm quite impressed, and I think we have got few more questions that we need to answer that we'll be doing in the forthcoming sessions as well. If you could devote more time with us, and taking up to the viewers of today. If at all we talk about sustainability, it's about bringing up change. The change begins in you. Be the change that you wish to see in the society. Thereby, we have got one role model, an example of the society that Mr. Krishna Raj, who has joined us for today evening. And I think it was his vast knowledge, and I would say that I would like to call him as a scientist rather, like when he's going to talk about, though he has not presented a paper, which very soon that he will be doing it with all our collaborations. And I think we should take it forward to the community as such with a common goal, which is for the social cause, definitely. And really, it's really amazing, Mr. Krishnaraj. And thanks for giving your time for us on this Sunday afternoon. And I just saw one of his posts, and I just happened to just jump in and said that okay, Mr. Krishna, why not we have a chat show on sustainability when so many people are talking about it, and you should be the first person to talk about it to society. And I've got one last question before we close, because I'm an educationist. My though I know you're doing too much for women, so I'm not going to ask that question at all. But my another eye, if you say womanhood is one eye of mine, the other eye is definitely youth. So I have a request. Can we start something for the involving the youth community as well?
Absolutely. So the youth are going to be the future, and they are the future, right? So in every environment, so if you look at actually the sustainability side, when I was talking about the tailwinds, which is happening, you have the policy tailwinds where governments like UAE government, which is in the forefront of creating awareness, reducing carbon. But you also have youth. So the government policies can go up to a level. But when it comes to consumer, there is something called as conscious consumerism is emerging.
Yeah.
So conscious consumerism is a behavior pattern from consumers who would want to deal with companies which are possibly ethical, which does not engage in practices which are immoral, which is good for planet, good for people. So, and this kind of consciousness is fairly prevalent with youth. So youth is going to be one of the large part of this success, not just the venture which I'm talking about, but if sustainability has to become mainstream, youth will play an extremely, exceptionally big role.
That's true. And they are the backbone of the society, and they are the future generation. I would say future. They are actually the present was a gift actually for us to work on and to, it's better to give the mantle to them and they take it forward to the society. It's like that. And we would like to collaborate with you because we are coming up with one more aspect, or I would say a project as ESGY. That's ESG, environmental social governance with youth in the lead. So since you're also one of the youth member, we would like to invite you as one of our youth member who can take it forward in the leadership role as such, and we'll be working with you with a lot of teams and from different countries, and it's going to be a huge collaboration for a social cause for the society. Anything else would you like to add on?
Yes, that's my honor. I would like to possibly leave people with a thought. People would have, all of you would have heard of something called as GHG, which is the greenhouse gas emission. Do you know the extent of GHG which actually enters our environment? If you were to actually solidify this GHG, every day, 1 million swimming pool can be filled. Every day. That's the amount of GHG which is actually coming purely through plastic.
Oh my.
The non-plastic is even more.
Please, those who are all watching here, please say no to plastic. Really, I do agree with you.
It's 1 million swimming pool worth of GHG is getting filled every day because of plastic. So it's way more bigger than what we think in terms of the effect. Every day, there are studies which says that every day a person consumes close to 0.5 milligrams of plastic, or it's equivalent of one credit card worth of plastic every week.
My goodness.
The plastic can create impotencies, heart diseases. You have millions of animals which are dying. There are in the deserts of Arabia, there are camels which died because some reckless campers had left the plastic trash, and they found it during postmortem that there are plastic inside. So the plastic is a very useful industrial substance, but when it is used as a single-use plastic, it can be really fatal. So it's
Thanks for the phenomenal mention there. I've got my first topic for ESGY. Say no to plastic. Why?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It chokes the world. It chokes the world is that it's not that it's choking some distant polar bear or something. No, it's choking everybody. We do not realize. We are actually ingesting microplastics. You and me, everybody is actually ingesting microplastics. every day. We do not realize it. Animals take it. When they fish in Pacific, they find that 75% of the fish has plastic in their bodies, and we eat that. So it's much more serious and much more closer home than what we think. It's here already.
I know. So we should start working together, Mr. Krishraj, definitely. And people who are there with us, I think they would have heard enough for today, and we've given them too much of dose, definitely. So this will, and this is just a beginning, and we should take it forward by all means, by all merits, by all ways, and we should definitely do it as responsible citizens of the world. Thank you. Thanks for coming on the
Thank you.
show. And
Thank
as
you, Dr.
I
Srividhya.
always say, coming together is only a beginning. Staying together is a process. Working together is success. Let's collaborate with people like Mr. Krishna Raj to take it forward, to put our hands together, heart, mind, and soul together, such that we will be able to reform the society along with them in its projects. Thank you, Mr. Krishna Raj. It is wonderful having you on your show. And this is only a beginning, and we're going to have more and more. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Srividhya. Pleasure to be here again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.